I promise we're wrapping it up after this video. Last Married at First Sight video. And y'all, I forgot my microphone today. I'm not at home. I forgot my microphone. So if it sounds crazy, bear with me. I'm going to try to work on the audio as best as I can. But this is it. We are wrapping up Married at First Sight. We're giving our final thoughts. We are done with. We're done. We're wrapping the season up and we are throwing it away. But first, let's get into a very special package that I got. Now, y'all know, Ana Luisa, they sent me a couple of pieces, girl, including these earrings that I am wearing today. You guys don't see me promote anything on this channel unless I am actually a fan of it, and this jewelry is the real deal. Now, a lot of y'all have not done your Christmas shopping yet, your holiday shopping. I know you have a long list of people that you still need to get gifts for. Well, Ana Luisa jewelry is the best thing that you can offer them. Guys, this jewelry is backed by a 2-year warranty. So if for some reason the jewelry breaks, the jewelry has any issues, it's not the right fit, or maybe you're just like, I'm not feeling this, you have 2 years to trade it in and get you whatever you want. And I don't think you're going to have to. I mean, girl, I've been testing out these earrings for weeks and they are fine. They have touched water, they have touched everything, and they are still intact. But if for some reason you do need to trade in the jewelry, it is no problem. Some of this jewelry is bestsellers. These earrings that I'm wearing, y'all, are best sellers. So you might want to get to the sale right now. 30% off is crazy. And you can click my QR code, you can click my link, and you can get straight onto the website where the deals are, okay? Do not wait because look, I'm going to be honest, these might not even be there. So click this QR code, go to my description box, click my link, but make sure that you go check this out. It is the biggest sale of the year. And to be honest, if you miss out, I feel for you. I feel for you because you guys know I do not come on here selling y'all anything unless it's actually stuff that I use. So I know you need to go buy your mom a gift, your sister a gift, your friend a gift, whoever in your life a gift. Go ahead, go onto Ana Luisa's website, click my link, check out the 30% off that you can get right now, and get you a few pieces. Okay, get a bracelet, get a necklace, get some earrings. I'm not playing with you guys. I better see that y'all clicked that link. Tell them I sent you, okay? When you click the link, you won't tell them I sent you. So remember, 30% off. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Please hype the videos if you have hypes left for the week. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, whatever you are celebrating. At least I hope you got a day off of work today at the minimal least. And thank you guys so much for supporting the MAFS content this entire season. This video is intended to be a little wrap up of the season. You know, we're going to go couple by couple. We'll talk about anything that I've seen online, any potential things. Brittany did do an interview, some things I wanted to touch on from there. But I just want to give my final thoughts on the show as a whole, being on Peacock, this show in general, and then again, any last sort of things that I want to square away with each couple. So let's jump on into it. Let's chat. Let's finish up this season. All right. So MAFS as a whole. So as you guys know, this was the first season that Married at First Sight was on Peacock. We had this batch dropping of each episode, and it was a shorter season overall. The episodes were also not the hour and a half with commercials that they usually are. They were only between 45 to 55 minutes, some touching just an hour. So it was very interesting to see the pacing of the season. I may be in the minority. I am okay with the fact that the show was on Peacock. I am okay with the fact that the show had batch droppings. I am okay with the fact that the show was a month long. I'm going to keep it honest. One of the reasons why I had a very long break from Married at First Sight prior to David and Madison's season is because I felt like sometimes Lifetime would milk this show and milk this show and milk this show and milk this show. And I just felt like with actually having it be a month long, be more succinct. I do feel like it overall created a better flow in terms of what we were seeing, the pacing, and overall just interest level. That being said, I do feel that the length of the episodes could be a little bit longer. I do feel like we can keep this format of having the batch droppings for about a month while still having episodes that are around 2 hours long. Personally, I feel like there was a lot of things that we really did not touch on the show that were major, major things. Some of them being Chad's drinking. That is something that was clearly and evidently a huge problem for Chad and Belinda that is completely overlooked in general. When it came to Rhonda and Pat, their intimacy related issues. Again, something that was touched on in the reunion, but sounds like that was something that Pat was not satisfied with over the course of their relationship. I do think the things they chose to keep in the show versus the things they didn't choose to keep in the show was very, very interesting. And I do think that they need to do a little bit better job giving us the full picture of things because I feel like there was a lot of context missing with a lot of conversations and a lot of the drama and sort of animosity that people had toward each other. And we saw that they had the footage. Okay, because they love to do that little gray screen with the flashback footage or the nanny cam footage. So we did see that they had the footage. They just chose not to include it for some reason. I think even the reunion, we could have got a 1 or 2-parter. I think that would have been fine because again, I just feel like there were things that we really didn't touch on as a whole. So I think that's my biggest thing for Kinetic next season, or the editing, whoever's in the editing bay. We want more. We want more. We don't need a gray screen with a little bit of footage. We want to see that footage. I think none of us would have a problem with the episodes all being 2 hours each, or even an hour and a half, 90 minutes each. I think that would be fine. I think that we were missing a little bit too much in some cases. And it felt almost like when I was analyzing things, especially when I was watching the reunion, I was like, did we know about any of this? Because I felt like we really didn't know about a lot. Going in line with that, where are the experts? Dr. Pepper, where were you this season? Truly, why did Dr. Pepper just show up at the reunion? Not the reunion, the decision day. Where was Dr. Pepper? And why in general are the experts not giving actual good advice? I feel like the problem that I have with this show is that it's very clear that they are very pressed to hit this percentage of married couples, married couples, married couples. We're 5 for 5. We're 5 for 5. We're 5 for 5. Guess what? Y'all were 5 for 5, but by the reunion, you were 0 for 5. So what does it even mean? It actually means that the percentage is destroyed because you guys coerced people to stay together that very, very clearly were not going to stay together. I feel like we need to bring in the experts being more involved in general and actually being willing to give legitimate advice, even if that means that the marriage is not going to work out. Because I feel like the advice they give is very blanket, blanket statements, blanket phrases, and it doesn't actually help any of these couples come to a resolution. Sometimes people need to hear hard truths. And just because you tell the couples a hard truth doesn't mean that they're going to automatically break up. They might. But I just feel like the experts are not giving good advice at all, and they're not present when they need to be present. And they're letting a lot of people get away with a lot of things. And I feel like we'll tend to do this thing because we saw this a lot this season where we had people that were so much, the Brittnys, the Rhondas, where yes, we obviously know they had things. Why was Rhonda never held accountable, for the record? I feel like we never saw Rhonda get anything from any of the experts. Why was that? Why was that? For what it's worth, I also feel like Brittany really didn't get held accountable either. They only told her once to be more vulnerable. And then she held on to that the whole season. I'm more vulnerable. I'm more vulnerable. Okay, Brittany. But I just feel like it's very weird because we're not holding the right people accountable. We're holding Pat accountable more than we're holding Rhonda, which was just strange to me. We're telling Pat, you do this, so therefore Rhonda will not do this toxic behavior, which literally just doesn't make sense. Same with Will, right? Telling Will, don't be this way, give Brittany more validation. You know, if you do these little things, then she's going to actually feel wanted and validated. When in reality, Brittany's telling us in the reunion that no, she knew that Will actually was trying. She just was digging for more, whatever that means. She was digging for more. I just feel like we need experts that are genuinely giving good advice. I'm tired. I'm tired. And my last thing, and I say this with all of these shows, whether it's Love is Blind, whether it is Married at First Sight, I do not want to see the couples mingling with each other, and I don't want to see people that already know each other in some capacity. Stop bringing on mother and daughter. Stop having the couples together at literally every event, because then you have the Jaylens of the world. You have the Megans of the world that are sitting here defending Brittany. They don't know what's going on in the situation. They don't actually have the full context. I feel like the couples feed off of each other and spiral into a whole toxic band. It's a band of people. It's a toxic band of people. Even when it came to Jaylen and Chad, because some of y'all came at me in the comments like crazy talking about I said that Chad can't talk to Jaylen a certain way because she's a woman. I never said that. I never said that, but y'all write your own fanfics sometimes in my comments. In either case, I feel like Belinda should have been the one speaking with Chad during all of the post decision day footage we saw. There shouldn't have even been a mother and daughter pair like this. Because obviously Jaylen is going to defend her mother, right? But that's the thing. When we have all these interconnected relationships with people who are always together, people who know each other, that's how it's going to be. Where it may not feel fair. It may feel like an ambush. We're gonna have people blindly defending other people. And I do feel like they put way too much integration in these shows with, again, the couples all being with each other all the time, as well as, again, things like having a mother-daughter duo. I do not want to see that. Don't bring me any Jaylen and Belinda mother-daughter duos next season. Okay, that's my rants about MAFS. Other than that, I thought this was a pretty good season. I really thoroughly enjoyed the season. I thought there was a lot to talk about with every couple. Let's get into Brittany's interview that she did with AD. And as you know, in typical no shade, no tea to the AD interviews, I think in typical fashion of those interviews, a lot of what was said was a bunch of nothing, but there was a couple of things in there that Brittany said that I thought was a little bit interesting. All right, so Brittany starts off this interview. She lets us know that she is doing much better than before. She is still seeing the lady, which is great. She has a new house, a new car, new everything. She lost 30 pounds. So Brittany is doing very, very well for herself. She says that she would describe herself as bubbly, introverted. She loves being around people. And the Brittany that we saw on the show is not representative of who she is today. So Brittany gets into the application process of getting onto MAFS, and she felt that for her, she does mention again that she had multiple relationships that only made it 3 months. It didn't work, but she knew that she was ready to be married. She talks a lot about her faith, and I know that we had that one conversation with Will and her mom and dad at the beginning of the season where Will started talking about the Crusades and they about lost their mind. They had no idea, and it was wild. That was a wild conversation. But in either case, Brittany does say that her faith is huge to her and that she basically prayed before she went on this process to God about if this was the way to go, if this is how she was supposed to find her future husband, let her know, put her in it. She basically hit us with a God told me to do this. And I'm like, girl, no, stop saying God told y'all to do this stuff. He did not. She does reveal, though, that she was a fan of the show prior. She had seen the show. She even talks about how on the honeymoon she had Will watch some of the show because he had not seen the show before. But in either case, she was ready. Brittany claims she was ready, ready, ready. She knew that marriage is what she was here for. She felt the most secure she had ever felt with herself. And that's the reason why she applied for this process. We also find out that Brittany has applied before for this show. She actually applied for the Houston season back in 2020, but between 2020 and now, she had done some dating. She had, again, things didn't work out clearly as she was still ready to apply for the Austin season that we have right now. So, longtime fan of the show, Brittany's been trying to get on, okay? I could have told you that, but she's been trying to get on this show for a little minute now. Now, you know, AD didn't watch this show, so we have her sister come in to ask some questions, most of which were not interesting. But I did think one question was pretty interesting. They talk about what it was like when Will was traveling for work and how Brittany handled that. Brittany claims that she actually was super cool with that from the day of the wedding. His mom had told her, look, he travels for work, he's very busy. And Brittany claims that she even prayed for a guy where she did not have to be with him 24/7. So when Will was traveling for work, she would do whatever she did before, before she was with Will, whether it was working out. She does say she got very close with the other couple. She would go over to some of the different apartments. So for her, it was all well and good with Will traveling. Now, I don't know. I feel like we saw differently on the show, but that's the problem with some of these interviews is that it's easy, especially a year and a half later, to just kind of say whatever. But Will is her type. She does claim that if she saw him on a dating app, she would have absolutely been into him. And she did have a list of non-negotiables, the main ones being someone faith-based, someone committed, and somebody who was family-oriented. Now, she said Will had two of those things, but it was a big shocker for her to find out that Will was not faith-based. That was something that apparently was a very huge deal to her. She said that they actually did off camera have a conversation about religion, and that's where Will revealed that he's not really religious. And apparently this was just a much bigger disconnect for the two of them than was displayed on the show. For Brittany, she wanted somebody that put God first and would lead the way that God intended for a man to lead. Brittany does dive a little bit into the 3-month relationships that she would continuously have, as well as the attraction to Will. For her, there wasn't instant chemistry, and what was different with Will than with the other relationships she had is that Will was very analytical. They would have actually very deep conversations. He would process a lot of things. And at first, it was something that really threw her off, but she actually grew to love it. And again, I'm just like, did you? Because on the show, we saw that you had a really hard time with the fact that Will expressed things quite differently than you do. But okay. She says in the other relationship she was in that it would get really, really hot really, really fast, but the flame would burn out quickly. I could tell you that. So then they get into the infamous decision day phone call where Will called to say that he was saying no. For Brittany, this did come as a complete blindside because the night prior they had had dinner. And at that dinner, Brittany had basically been like, I know that my answer is yes. I want to make sure that both of our answers are the same and that we're on the same page. And then she claims that Will did not say it back. At least the way she tells the story, she implies that he didn't really say it back. And for her, that was definitely something inside that she felt weird about, but she continued on anyway. So after they had this dinner, which apparently he also had bought her a gift at this dinner, she goes home and she texts Will and is like, hey, what are you going to wear tomorrow? I want to be coordinated. She gets no answer. Then she texts him again in the morning. She gets no answer. So a little bit later, she says it is, and I want to get the time exactly right. She says at 6:27 a.m., Will called her and said that he was not going to say yes. And one thing about this interview is Brittany has the timestamps on that, baby. It's 6:28. It's 1:37 a.m. She had these timestamps written down. So Will apparently was really, really freaking out about the fact that they had these communication issues. Then he started to be, I guess, pretty anxious about the fact that he was going to be moving into Brittany's place. He got paranoid about what would happen with his place. If he didn't have his own place, what would happen? And for Brittany, she was like, what? Like, we're going to work through it like a married couple. For Brittany, it was never a thought of saying no. But she did tell Will that if he does say no on decision day, this is it. we are done. We're not going to go back and try to date or anything of that nature. But then they go to decision day, and then everything we saw there happened. And then right after that, Will had to leave for work for about a week. So when Will was gone for work, Brittany could tell that he was pretty annoyed. I guess he was pretty busy, so they weren't talking much. And when they did talk, it was very clear that Will was not feeling the best. Brittany says on her end, she was spiraling. This is the word she used. She said she was spiraling because it hit her that they were actually about to get a divorce, that Will was actually about to say no to her. I guess that all just hit her like a ton of bricks, that this was going to end. And then she and the experts coerced him to say yes. But in either case, he was really busy with work. She begged him to have this conversation, and it just seemed like Will was pretty much checked out. And again, come on, Will, for that one. Why did you say yes? Why? What kind of checks did they cut y'all to say yes? While he was gone, she tried to make some consultations to get them in couples therapy. She told him, hey, I'm going to cook a nice homemade dinner when you get home so we can have this conversation. And he just was not feeling it. So eventually Brittany says to him, it doesn't seem like you're happy to see me, when he got home. And Will is just like, you know what? I can't do this no more. I guess, according to Brittany, Will was just like, I can't do this no more. And then that's the nanny cam footage that we had seen. Right before that footage, though, apparently Will sent her a text after she said, hey, it doesn't seem like you're happy to see me. And he said, I'm going to make sure that never happens again. And in that moment, Brittany claims that she knew something was off, that she knew he was likely going to break up with her. And then we see the conversation that we saw on the nanny cam. And again, it's the same behavior. I just want to it's the same behavior. And do I genuinely believe that Will was probably acting checked out, avoidant, and had kind of an attitude or was being passive aggressive? I do. So that's again where I'm not gonna 100% say that Brittany was even wrong towards Will, because I actually think that he probably was acting in the way that she felt he was acting. But at the same time, it's like, again, when this is happening over and over and over and over again, it's like, Brittany, why do you want to be with him? Why do either one of y'all want to be with each other when there's always these problems? There was more to the nanny cam footage. Apparently, Will told her in that conversation he did not care about her. He was super cold during the breakup. And then obviously we have the pool party the next day. And I guess Brittany's setting that up to say that's why she was like, oh, why do you treat me like I'm nothing? What did I do to you to treat me like I'm nothing? And then we do hear Will admit in that he was cold, which again, I think maybe direct or firm would have been better wording, but he says cold. Then we get into this weird story where Brittany says that one of the cast members told her that Will believed that she believed that he was having an inappropriate relationship with a producer. And I'm like, huh? What are we talking about? Apparently, Brittany accused him of that. So Brittany tries to call him as usual. She says she's calling him 500 times, telling him, come home so we could talk. Come home so we could talk. Again, this is after he had broken up with her on the nanny cam and after he had tried to break up with her on decision day. She's still telling him, come home so we could talk. Come home so we could talk. Again, not accepting this man's no. But eventually that night he had called her with his mom and his sister on the line and was like, hey, I just want to show you I'm at home. There's nobody here. I'm not in anything. Will never comes over though, and Brittany comes through with the timestamp again and says that at 1:07 a.m. Will says that he wants a divorce. He does not want to do this, and he is done. So they have a conversation off camera a little bit later about the producer, and Brittany basically explains that Will had a lot of trouble opening up to the male producer that they had, but apparently he seemed to be a little more open and loose. Not loose is a bad word, but just a little more comfortable, I guess, in Brittany's eyes to talk to the female producer. So she had encouraged him to talk to this female producer. My guess is that Brittany was a little bit, we know how Brittany could get. Oh, you want to talk to her? I know you probably talk to her. I know you're probably more comfortable with her than I am. Brittany makes it seem like she was just like, oh no, you should talk with her. Like you're clearly comfortable. No, we know Brittany definitely tried to pick a fight with him and probably somewhere in there said that he don't care about her. And he probably did, like, she probably did legitimately accuse him of something. But in either case, at that point, that's, I guess, where this whole thing stemmed from, where Will felt that she felt that there was something going on with the producer. In either case, though, the two of them don't really talk. The first time they had seen each other was the reunion, and she was happy to talk and see him. Brittany tries to say that she doesn't really want to be friends with Will like that. She's cordial with him. Megan is at this interview, and she chimes in and is like, actually, in the car, you said you could see us all be in a group. And she's like, yeah, okay. I mean, I guess I could see myself talking to him in a social setting. But we do find out that they had another conversation post reunion where they just apologized to each other. Will supposedly apologized to her. She apologized to him. And they are cool. Brittany lets us know that she is single, but she's ready to mingle. And yeah. She's shooting her shot, y'all. So I don't know, but I think Brittany wants to be on another show because she definitely said she wants to figure out how to be a corporate baddie while also doing this, which I imagine means being on these reality shows. Now, there was also a picture posted of Brittany and Will by Pat. So a lot of people now are like, oh my gosh, even in my comments, y'all were like, oh my gosh, they're friends now. They're friends now. Pat does say in the comments that they are establishing a friendship, whatever that means. To me, it's given, let's just be cordial at this reunion. I don't know. I don't feel like they're dating. It's clear that they're not dating. It's clear that they're not together. It's giving, let's be cordial at this reunion. We're here together. It's no hard feelings. Let's take a picture. We're all happy. I highly doubt Brittany and Will are going out of their way to hang out, but maybe I'm wrong. This one is for the people that did not like Derek, that had weird feelings about him. These pictures were on Derek's on Derek's social media. I can't even speak today. These pictures were there. Okay, I don't have much to say, but for the we ain't effing with Derek crew, vindication. And last but not least on this video, in the preview, there was somebody that is going to be on the next season of Married at First Sight. Now, there's a lot of speculation out there that because of the back of the head, I'm going to put the photo up. I'm going to give you guys a couple of seconds. Who do y'all think this is? Now, the running theory is that it is JR. If you don't know JR from The Ultimatum, I don't know what to tell you. All I have to say is if JR is on Married at First Sight, I might lose it, y'all. I might lose it. The recaps, if you thought my recaps were crazy this season, I might just lose it. But that's all I got, y'all. That is really it. If I haven't talked about people, it's because they don't have much on their social media. I tried to look at Jalen, Josh, etc. Didn't really see much on most people's, or it was just promotion for the show. So that's where we're at, though. So if you made it to this point of the video, that means you liked the video. So I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Please hype the videos if you have hypes left. Thank you guys so much for supporting the content. Make sure to get some of this Ana Luisa jewelry with my QR code, my personalized link down in the description. It's also here on the screen. And the next show we have coming up on the channel is Love is Blind Italy in just a few days. Okay, it's starting on December 1st. So I hope y'all will be watching with me. We will be talking there, and I will talk to you guys in my next one. Bye.